second one, how to be compassionate towards elderly who only have idle talks, which might be meaningless to oneself or even to listener. Oneself is the listener, right? Okay, I will explain two scenarios. So if the idle talk is meaningless to the elderly, then that means that for elderly we have to understand most elderly people like to talk because sometimes it's their need, It's not so much about the content. Sometimes it's a lot more about the companionship. Having somebody to listen to them, having somebody to respond to them. Because when they're old, sometimes they stay alone at home when people go to work, then loneliness and anxiety sets in. And then when they have somebody that they can talk to, they feel more at ease with in their heart. They could release those negative emotions of loneliness, anxiety, or maybe even depression, like that. So, how to be compassionate? Actually, we can approach this with we can relate to them we can also relate to them with gratitude. We can be grateful that they are still there, nagging non-stop to you. There was a Chinese. I think there's a story from ancient China that there was a very filial guy. Then his mom always beat him up. Then even when he was like 40 years old and his mom was like maybe like 70 or something like that, then she was still beating him up, and he never say anything in defiance. Then one day I think the mom was probably like 80, 85 already. Then she tried to beat him, and this time he cried. So people were asking, "Oh, you have never cried throughout your life when your mom beat you. Why do you cry this time?" So he says, "Oh, because I can feel from the heat that my mom's strength is gradually diminishing, and she's and then gradually she will not be even able to beat me anymore, and gradually she'll pass away. So that's why I'm crying for that." No? So when we experience maybe some nagging or some idle talk from the elderly, then we can relate to them with gratitude. We can relate to that experience with gratitude also, and be grateful that we have a chance to be grateful that we still have a chance to listen to the elderly, nagging about their things, nagging about their past and all that. Next, when they maybe in the matter of 10 or 20 years, they will not be able to do even that anymore. Then we might miss all the nagging and all that, right? Yeah, so sometimes we can relate to it with gratitude. We can also relate to it with forgiveness, understanding, and empathy, especially imagining, ourselves in their shoes, in their position, in their situation where they are old and they need somebody to talk to, they have that sense of insecurity, they have that sense of loneliness, depression, etc. So they just need somebody to talk to. And when we can relate to them with this, then your anger or your frustrations will gradually be replaced with forgiveness, understanding, and empathy. All right. And many other ways to relate to them too. By when you can forgive, understand, and have empathy, then it is easy for you to arise loving kindness and compassion towards the elderly who only have those idle talks or nagging, like that. Okay. So this is in the case where the idle talk is may seem meaningless to themselves. Then what if the talks are meaningless to us, the listeners? So like what I mentioned just now, sometimes it's not about the content, but rather about the companionship. So if it is about companionship, then it is not meaningless, because our presence there and listening to them in itself is the meaning, right? It's a meaning for them. Okay. So, but if you really get frustrated and all that, then try to relate to them with this gratitude, forgiveness, and then when you can do gratitude and forgiveness to them, then you can relate to them also with loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, right? So this is the way to be compassionate towards the elderly, like that. And one thing is, try not to focus so much on the content sometimes, but rather about the companionship. How are you keeping company with your elderly, right? Are you showing a black face or what when they are nagging, when they are blah 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 blah, or are you trying to show that at least you are listening or something like that? Huh? It makes a difference. Huh? So yeah, sometimes don't think so much about content. Think about how you are keeping company with them. Okay. Okay, so that's the answer for the two questions. Hope it is beneficial to all of you. And any more questions from the floor? Don't have, huh? Don't have, then we share merit for today.